you guys, welcome to Christmas All Year Long at the Scrapping for Less shop and blog. Today I'm using the My Favorite Things Beast Friends stamp set, and this is one of the first stamp sets that I ever got from My Favorite Things, and it is still to this day my favorite. You can see some of my stamps are kind of yellowed. I have them out on my desk all the time, and that's just something that photopolymer does when it's out and about in the sun. Sometimes it gets a little yellow, but they still stamp perfectly fine. And I'm going to use them today to create a little foresty Christmas card. So to start off with, I stamped all 4 of the little Yeti images. I have my favorite. It's the one with holding the string of lights. But I thought I would color all of them because, like I said, this is one of my favorite things stamp sets, so I know that I will use these guys again. I'm going to color them with my neutral gray Copic markers. I used a combination of N0, N2, and N4, and then you'll see that I also use my Copic, the colorless blender, quite a bit. My favorite way to color these little Yetis is to just use the N0 all the way around like the highlights of their bodies, and then just blend it out with a Copic marker. But I decided to use the N4, N2, and N0 on that first one. This one right below him, I just used N2 and N0, but then the 2 on the right, I just used the N0 and blended it out with the colorless blender, and those are my favorites. For their faces, ears, and hands and all that good stuff, I like to use the regular skin tone combination that I would use if I'm coloring people. I just think that that's super cute. My first Yeti, I tried coloring him with a gray face, and I didn't like it, so I went over it with my usual E00 and E21. For my reds, I used R24 and R29. Sometimes if I want a darker red, I will bring in R39, but I liked this more bright Christmassy red. The green that I've been reaching for more and more is YG25 and YG17. I have other green combinations that I use, but I like this one for Christmas cards. So like I said, I stamped and colored all of these, but I ended up cutting out my favorite one. And all these other ones I'll just stick in the back of my stamp pocket, and I can use those any other time that I want to make a card with this stamp set. So for my background, I wanted to blend on some distress ink. And one of my favorite greens is the crushed olive color. Now, this color that I'm blending on now, I'm using a blender brush, and I must not have cleaned it off well, because this is a more citrusy green than the dull green of this crushed olive color. But that's okay, because in the end, this ended up working out really, really well for my card design. I just blended the center of my card, and later on you'll see that I cut it down and actually I added more of that crushed olive color around the outside. So that's where it worked out well that I hadn't cleaned my blender brush, because you're going to get dark in the middle and then that true crushed olive, that lighter dull green color around the outside. And you'll see that in a little bit. For now though, I did run my anti-static powder tool over my ink blended background. And I should note that I did dry this really well with a heat tool before I did any of the stamping. I mounted all 3 of those little pine trees onto an acrylic block. Then I'm just going to ink them up with my Versamark ink and just kind of create a little forest. It's hard to see as I'm stamping because this ink is clear. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover this with my white embossing powder, and then I'll go back in and keep stamping, filling in that background until I have it the way I wanted. My plan was to leave it like this, but I thought how fun it would be to add in some gold metallic elements. I love metallic green or metallic gold and green together. I think it's a fun, festive combination for Christmas cards. So I grabbed my Ganzi Tambi Starry Colors watercolor palette. And this is not watercolor paper that I'm coloring on, so I'm keeping the paint pretty opaque and adding just a little bit of water. So it's mostly paint and a little water that I'm adding on so that it won't really warp my cardstock or give me any pilling or anything. Once I had everything all colored in, this is where you can see I trimmed down my card panel because I didn't like how the ink blending was looking. It was more towards the top, and so I had like a big white area at the bottom. So I cut that into a square 4 1/4 card, and then I thought that I needed to fill that whole background in with the green, so I came in and added more of that green distress ink around the outside, and here you can see that halo effect where it's light on the outside and dark in the middle. I love it. I gold heat embossed a sentiment, added that onto my card, and now I'm just going to finish this off with some glittery gold enamel dots from my collection. I hope that you love this card and have a very Merry Christmas. See you soon. Bye.